Hi, today we're going to be looking at this Noco Boost Plus Ultra Safe Jump Starter. Now, I purchased this off eBay for spares or repair, and I think I paid £30 for it. I'll just bring the listing up so you can have a look. It was described as not charging and no signs of life, pretty much. It looks in really good condition, looks almost brand new. Can't see any marks or anything on it. Comes with the two crocodile clips there, which again look in unused condition. It didn't come with the charging lead, which is just a standard USB-A, I think, so I'll just grab one of those and we'll see if it's doing anything. Right, so I'm back with the little USB tester there and the power lead. Let's see, that goes on that way. It appears to be drawing some power. Although the voltage looks a bit low, 3.45 volts at 1.77 amp. I think I'll just zoom down a bit so you can see that. That looks awfully low. The voltage, I think there's some kind of short or something. Right, tell you what, I'll just unplug it. Let's just see how it comes apart. And it looks like we've got some triangle shaped screws on the back, so I'll see if I can find a suitable screwdriver that'll fit those. Right, and I'm back. So I've got a 2.6mm triangle bit here, and that seems to fit these. So I guess this is just going to be like a big power bank. I mean, it claims 1000 amps, but I can't see it being, I mean, unless it's 1000 amps for literally like a microsecond or something perhaps, but let's see if we can get these screws out. Right, let's see if we can get this out. There we go. Alright, what have we got in here then? Well, that looks a bit expanded. I don't think that should be like that. Oh, with a bit of bare wire showing there. Looks like that's been caught when it's been assembled. Let's see if we can get this battery pack out. Actually, looks like the whole board might come out here. I think we have the thing jammed now. Right, that's one lead out. Let's see that. There we go. Yeah, that battery pack has swollen, so I think that's probably going to be the problem. Let's just have a quick look over this circuit board while we're in here, just to see if there's anything blown. Obviously that's a little USB input board there. Over on this side, there's a couple of inductors. Looks like a little microcontroller board there. flash and boost. I guess those are for the lights possibly, and that's some kind of boost mode. We've got an on-off button with a little LED there. And those must be the front little LEDs. And looks like we've got a couple of, looks like a charge indicator arrangement here. So to me it looks like the battery pack has failed on this, because those cells are definitely swollen. I wonder if we can get a replacement battery pack for this. I'll go and have a look online and then I'll be back. So it's a Noco Lithium X15 and resume. Right, so I've had a look around on the internet and it appears that Noco don't supply the batteries separately, and what they suggest is you dispose of this unit and buy a new one. So you can't actually buy a replacement battery for this, so I'm not sure what we're going to do about that. Perhaps we can get some, I mean they just look like normal pouch cells in this, so I wonder if we can disassemble this. I mean I'll check to see if there's any power in it first. Let's go and grab the test meter before we go any further, and we'll see if there's any power in any of these cells. So that looks like a balancing type of lead there. So I guess that's the ground. No, we've got nothing at all in any of those cells. Right, so how can we get into this? It looks like we're going to have to carefully cut this heat shrink around the outside without puncturing the cells. Now it's probably not recommended to do this, so don't do as I do. Right, so I've got a little thermistor there, or NTC. So obviously measuring the temperature of the pack. So that goes to those two wires there. Let's see if we can get this tape off. Yeah, those cells are all definitely swollen. I wonder if a bit of IPA might help with this. Well, that's made it worse. So a little insulator between there and there. Looks like that one's just soldered directly. And looks like that one's just soldered directly as well. And they just put cap and tape around it. Well, at least there's a number on the cells there. So 607260. So I guess they're 60mm by 72 by 6mm wide. So I wonder if I can get some cells that are the same as those. I mean, there's no electronics in here as such. I would have thought might be some kind of BMS or something like that in here, or some kind of safety device, or overcharge or undercharge or anything, but that appears to be about it. It just looks like we've got an array of MOSFETs here and a relay. I think that's about it. So all the BMS must be done on the actual circuit board here via that connector there. Right, I'll see if I can find some of these cells and then I'll be back.
4 to 6 weeks later.
Right, I did manage to find some cells on AliExpress. Well, I was a bit surprised when they just turned up in a box here, just with no label on to say, you know, potentially flammable batteries or whatever you're supposed to put on it, or no warning label, just a just a box. So yeah. So I had a bit of trouble finding cells of the same size, and you need to have them with the same rating. I don't think these ones are actually the same rating as the cells that were in. I can't remember the C rating of these, but these were the highest ones I could find. And they're the same size, they're still 60, let's zoom down a bit. They're still 60, 72, 60. So, I mean, they're 22C18 and these 23G28, whatever that means. 2210, 2310, so I mean, they look about the same. But 1000 amps, really? I've just got a bit of masking tape just over the contacts here, which is, you know, a bit how you doing as well. Let's just see what voltage are in these. 3.8. Now let's put that one to one side and we'll just check the next one. .79 and 4.28. So they've all got various levels of charging. So what I might do is try and get them all to the same level before we start off. I mean, I know it's got some kind of BMS hopefully in there, but just in case, I might try and run this one down slightly to match the other two. Right, I've used a 12 volt automotive bulb just to run the cells down a bit, because I don't want to have them too energetic just in case we short anything out. So it appears the top cell is that way up, then the next cell is that way face down, and then the next cell is face up. That's because obviously the positive and negative, it goes from positive to negative, and then linked to the positive of the other cell, then to negative, and then from that negative to the positive of the next cell, and then negative out. So we end up with a positive at this side and a negative of that side. And I think the pack voltage is about 11.5 volts or around about there. 3.7 times 3. So, or 4.2 if it gets that high. Alright, so how are we going to tackle this then? I think the first thing I'm going to do is remove this thermostat at the side here. So I'm just going to use my little pick thing here and just try and get underneath the Captain tape. Right, so that's the thermostat removed. Let's put that to one side. I think I'll start by desoldering these wires. I think I'll just, I mean, I can always look back at the videos and see. I'll take a picture first, but I can always look back at the video to see how these wires go. Obviously the red and black will go to the top and bottom, and then we've got white and then yellow. So I'm going to start by desoldering these, I think. I didn't like the way the cell was making some noises though, so it looked like it was swelling a bit more inside, so I'm not sure how we're going to solder the other one back on. There's that wire off. Right, that's that one off. So there's just one more wire to come off now. Might be easier cutting this off with some scissors first. probably a safer way of doing it. Right, so that's all of the wires off the old pack now. And this is probably unleaded solder. So I wonder if it's better. I'm trying to get some leaded solder on here. I'm trying to get rid of the unleaded stuff. Should lower the melting point a little bit. Right, let's have a look at how this is done then. So it looks like they've got some Captain tape just around first. I've got this insulator here which goes between. So that would go like that sort of thing. So that would be like that. So those two would be soldered together. I think I'll get some Captain tape first. Like that. I'll just take this insulator back off a sec. Right, so that would go like that, wouldn't it? So the first cell is up and the next one's pointing down. So we need to attach those two together. Doesn't look like it's sticking to the back side of it very good. I wonder if I can use my little grinding pen. Actually, I'll put solder. Hang on, that way. I'll put solder on that side. It doesn't appear that solder wants to stick to this contact very well. I don't know why. Where's my little grinding pen? Let's see if we can grind some of that stuff back a little bit. Actually, maybe just be to scrape it with Right, let's try tinning that first. Right, so I'm happy with that. And the cell's not very warm, so that's good. Right, so the next cell is going to be face up again. Bend this one out of the way for now. And it's these two that we need to join together. So I'll just move that insulator just out of the way slightly for now. Right, something like that I think. Let's see if we can tin these ones up. Just checking I'm putting it around the right way first. So up, that one's facing down and that one's facing up, so yeah, that's right. I need to scrape that one again. Right, so I'm happy with that. So I think we'll have to scrape this one. At least it's copper under here, so I need to put some Captain tape around them as well. So tell you what, I might start with this yellow one first. We're getting there slowly. Now it might take a while to do this one. I'll try and heat the wire up first. Well, it's on, and the pack didn't get too warm. So I'll try and get some tape around that one as well, I think. And there was that insulator thing there that I forgot to put on, so I'll just put that in there now. So now there should be just this wire to go on, and the big ground wire here. Right, well, it's soldered on. Right, now we've got the NTC to go on. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some tape around this whole pack first, just to hold it together, just to stop it from moving. And I'll put a bit around the front as well. Right, now we'll put the NTC on. I like that. And I'll just put a bit more tape around here, and I think that's probably about we're done. Now the original had this stuff going over the top, and I think I might just put some black tape over the top of that just to finish it off. Right, so I think that's went quite successfully. A few solder splats on my mat here, but right, let's zoom out a bit. Let's get some of this out of the way. Let's just check the little connector here. So we should have a ground, and then we should have a 3.7. Yeah, there we go. That looks good. Let's just check the main power, which is this one here and that one there. Let's switch through a relay to the outputs by the look of it. So let's just check between there and there. Yep, that's looking good. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame that they don't sell a replacement battery and you've got to go to all this trouble just to repair it. So yeah, it must have went like that. So I have to just give this a little bit of an adjustment. Right, so we've got the balancing wires going here. I've got the little thermistor wire. Which goes here. These two ones just slot into this hole. And this one goes into here. I think I pressed the button to switch the light on. Oh no, the light works. doesn't seem to sit very good, mind you. The way it's kind of just floating about. I think that's it. Right, so that's the lights working. That's the boost thing. Right, so it's saying it's about 3/4 charged, which is correct. Let's just see if the USB output works. Goes in that way. Yes, welcome, 4.92 volts. So the USB output works. Let's see if it starts charging. I'll just switch it off. And we'll plug this lead in. And we'll stick some power in. Well, it doesn't seem to be drawing any current. Hello, it is. Oh. Well, we just experienced a power failure there. And some of the electric is... Oh. Yeah, I think we're going through a bit of a power failure at the moment. We live quite remote and it sometimes happens. We've actually got no internet at the moment as well. So yeah, currently no internet and no electricity. Good job I've got a generator. Power has been restored. It's the following day now. We've had no mains power overnight, so I've been running on my generator and the solar backup batteries. So that's what we've been using for power. But this thing still isn't charging. It's still not drawing any amps. The lights and everything work. I've run it down a little bit just in case it was something to do with cell balancing. But it's still not charging. It's just not drawing any amps on the meter there. It's pretending it's charging because the light's flashing. But apart from that, it doesn't appear to be charging. So we'll take it apart. We'll see if it's something that I've done or whether this might be the original fault with it and it's been in storage and that's why the pouch cells have expanded because they've gone flat and it hasn't been charging. So it has got another fault on it. So let's see if we can figure out what that fault is. Just move this out of the way and let's pull it apart again.
A few moments later.
Well, I can see a couple of points. I can see a 3 volt and a 12 volt. So I guess this must use some kind of boost converter to step up the 5 volt input to the 12 volt. So I guess that might be this section around here, because it must take the 5 volt in and then possibly step it up to 12 volts. And I guess this section here is the USB output, which is probably, that must be a buck converter then, because we've got about 12 volts in the cells and it must be bucking that down to the 5 volt USB output. Right, so we've got a boost converter and a buck converter. That's the main microcontroller. It looks like possibly a couple of MOSFETs here and possibly a couple there. Actually no, those are labelled IC and those are marked Q, so I guess those are the MOSFETs. Let's just zoom down a bit more and see if we can make a number out on this chip. looks like a BVA. BVA 603. So I wonder if the battery management chip has detected something like the voltage has gone below a certain threshold and it's not switching the MOSFETs on now or something. I mean, that could well be the case. Let's get the meter out and we'll check some voltage and that stuff. Looks like there's a temperature sensor there as well. PTC1. Right, so we've got 10.65 there. So I guess that must be the battery pack voltage. No. So that's 11.2. Now I'll plug the USB lead in. Try and get that board to stop shorting out or anything. And the sun's coming out now. Let's see what we get on there now. 12.96. Okay, so I guess that is the output from the boost converter here. So I'll just unplug the USB a sec. It's easier to do it from here. Right, it's gone there now, 0.5. Plug the USB lead back in. Right, so that's the charging voltage. So the boost converter seems to be working. Let's have a look at these MOSFETs here and see what power we're getting on those. Well, 11.2, so is that the pack voltage? Yes. So the pack voltage goes to there. Does it go to here? Yes. So it appears that MOSFET switched on. Let's see what we get on this one. 11.21, so that's the pack voltage again. And 12.96. So that's the power from the boost converter on this side of the MOSFET. But it doesn't look like it's been switched to the battery pack. So I wonder if it's something to do with this chip here, which I think is a battery management IC. I mean, it doesn't appear to be getting hot or anything. Oh, that's interesting. I've just pressed on the chip there and it started drawing some current. Let's see if I can get this in shot. There, just briefly jumped. I wonder if there's a dry joint around here or something. Oh look. It's drawing 1.31 now. And when I've let go of that chip, it's gone. So hold on. I wonder if there's a dry joint on that chip. Yeah, oh, it's just gone again there now. That was a bit weird. So if I hold that chip and just put the power in. Right, 1.31. So that seems about right. And when I've let go of that chip, it's dropped down to 0. I think I'm going to reflow that chip. I want to disconnect these wires. One thing I have noticed as well, I don't know, I think I'm going to replace this connector. I'll just zoom down so you can have a look. It looks like there's been a bad connection here. You can see there and there where it looks like those two contacts have heated up. The centre two look okay, but it looks like there's been a bit of a bad connection on those two. The actual socket here looks okay, so I think I'm going to change that plug. I'll change the contacts in it. Right, so we'll get the microscope in, we'll have a look at this board on the microscope and we'll see if we can see any dry joints or anything on that chip. Right, I'm going to put some flux on this chip first. It doesn't look actually that bad under the microscope. Well, it was definitely doing something when I was pressing on it. Right, we'll add a bit of solder. I'll put a bit more flux on there now. I think I'm going to add a little bit more solder to this side. And just a little bit more flux to get rid of that bridge. There we go. Right, I'm going to give that a little bit of a clean up. With some IPA and a cotton bud. Right, let's try the battery pack again now then. I think it's because I haven't got this bit plugged in. I've switched it on accidentally. Right, there we go. Let's see if it starts drawing any current now then. Yes. Oh, well it did for a second. Well, that's weird. Let's just try resetting this again. Well, it seems to draw 1.3 amps for a moment and then drop back down to 0. Oh. Well, was it when I pressed that resistor? It seems to be when I press down here. So it's charging now, and then when I let go it stops. Or is it when am I shorting that resistor across or something with... There's definitely something going on round about there. Let's go and have another look. Let's see if we can unplug this for now. So what does that resistor control? Where does that go? Let's just see if that resistor measures okay. So it's a 1K resistor. So I'll just zoom out the fractions to get the meter in shot. Right, so the resistor's okay. And it just looks like it just goes through a ground trace on this side of the board. That's a bit odd. I'm just going to try resoldering that a second, just to see if that makes any difference, because it definitely seems to be when you press on it. But that just could be me adding more resistance to it, but I wouldn't think it would make that much difference. I think I'm going to have a look at this chip just to see what the pin outs are. There's definitely something around this area. Right, I'm going to see if I can look this chip number up and then I'll be back. Right, so I managed to find the data sheet. And this chip is a cell management chip, but there's not really much to it. There's these three resistors here measure the cell voltages and feed it into the chip on that pin, that pin and that pin. There's a pin that just ties to a resistor for whether it's a 3-cell or a 4-cell pack. There's another chip which is marked control, which I'm not sure what that one's for. We've got a couple of pins here that control the two MOSFETs, and then there's another 2 pins which just go to these capacitors here, which are to do for the timing for how long it takes for it to detect the current or the voltage thresholds. And it seems strange when I was pressing around this area that it seemed to be working, so I'm just wondering if one of these capacitors could be faulty. I think it's this one that does the charging, and this one is to do with the discharge protection, so I've got a feeling it might be this capacitor here. So I'm going to remove it and then replace it with a different one, and we'll see what happens. Right, that's the old one removed. It's a little bit bigger than the original one. Right, we'll get the microscope out of the way and we'll give it a go. So there's the capacitor I've just removed. Let's put that to one side. And I've changed the insides of this plug. I've put some new connector things here because the old ones were a bit melted. In fact, there's one of the old ones there. I see they were a bit discoloured. Right, let's plug this in. We'll get the USB meter in shot. And let's see what it does. Fingers crossed. Well, it did work for a brief moment there. Well, I've checked all of the components around here. I've checked all the resistors, all the capacitors, all of these. Now, one thing that it could possibly be, so I'm just going to try to rule it out. I think it's either going to be this chip, or I don't know how accurate the balancing has got to be on the batteries, because it was charging originally, but all the batteries had 0 volts in them, so they were all equal. Now, if I just measure, I'm just charging this one at the moment with a bench power supply, and it's 3, I mean, I thought, well, if they're all 3.7 that should do, but it might not be the case. So this one's at 3.57 currently, 3.757, sorry. This one's 3.789, and this one's 3.770. So I'm going to bring them up to the same level here, so 3.7 7, 8, 9 or so with the bench power supply, and then we'll try it and see if that makes any difference. Then if not, then I think it must be that chip must be faulty. That's the only thing I can think. Right, I brought all the levels up to the same value, and I unplugged it and plugged it in, and it was doing exactly the same. But then I've just plugged it in just now. Oh, it's just been charging for the last few minutes, and now it's just stopped. What on earth? I see all the levels now are pretty much identical. I mean, if I get the meter in shot here now. I'll just go on here. 3.791, 3.797, 3.785. I'm just wondering if that chip's faulty. Right, I've managed to obtain a replacement IC for this chip here in the form of these two boards. It was actually cheaper to order the two boards off Amazon. I think it was around £5 for the two boards he had delivered, so around about £2.50 each. And if I were to order the chip from Farnell or RS Components or such, there would have been at least £10 or £15 delivery charge on top of the price of the chip, so it was just more economical to get these two boards. Plus the added bonuses, I've got all the other components that go around it as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring the microscope in. We'll remove this chip and one of these ones, and we'll fit one of these in its place, and we'll see if it works. I'm going to put some flux on these pins here and then heat it up with a Rework station and remove it. Right, so that's the chip removed there. Now remove it from the other board. I'm just going to add a bit of flux again. Right, we'll heat this one up. I'm going to wick off this solder and put some fresh leaded solder on once I clean it off. Just give that a little bit of a clean up. Right, I'm going to add some fresh leaded solder to these pins. And I'll get the replacement chip in place. Right, I'm just going to add a bit more flux and just touch those up with the iron just to make sure that they're all making proper contact. So I've got some switches here in the way. Right, I'm going to give that a clean up. Right, I think that looks okay. Right, let's test it out. I've got the USB charge thing here. Let's plug that in. Nah, 1.31 amps. So it looks like it was that IC. I had a feeling it was kind of working, but not quite, because when I licked my finger and stuck it on the capacitor there, it was sort of triggering it, but I just had a feeling it was that IC. So I guess that's been the original fault from it being manufactured, and that's why it looks brand new. So I think what's happened is it hasn't been charged. It's probably been put on a shelf somewhere or returned, sat around for a while. Those cells have gone below the minimum level, expanded, and that's how I ended up with it. So I think what we'll do, we'll put it back together and then we'll try it out properly on trying to start something with it. I'll get the board put back in the case, get the pack back in. Right, I think that's about it. Hopefully it still charges now. Right, excellent. Right, so I'll leave this to charge up and then I think we'll try it on a real world thing like a tractor or a generator or something, and we'll see if it'll start it up. Well, it's getting there. It's been charging a little while now and it's nearly fully charged. Right, it looks like it's fully charged now. It's not drawing any more current. The green light is on. So let's go and try it for real. So I've got the boost pack here and we're going to try it on the tractor because the battery's flat on it. So let's just get in. I'll try it first. Right, I shall go and connect up the boost pack then. I'm going to connect it to the starter motor here. Right, so I've got it going to the starter motor there. It's a bit hard to see because it's getting quite dark there now. I'll switch this on. Right, press that one. Right, so that's it in boost mode. Right, we'll give it a go. Yes. So there we go then, repairing a Noco Boost Plus jump starter pack. Right, if you enjoyed this video, please give it the thumbs up. If you want to see more like it, please subscribe. Any comments or questions, please leave it in the comments section below. And as always, have a great day. Thanks for watching.